Here is Final Fantasy VII in its original state. If you download the game on Steam today and click play, this is what you will get. And don't get me wrong, it's fantastic. It's one of my favourite games of all time. However, in 2021, the frame rate might be considered to be a little bit low. Most of the game renders at 30 frames per second, battles render at a meagre 15 frames per second. We don't have to settle for that anymore. Thanks to Tsunamods, a fantastic modder within the Final Fantasy VII community, we can now set the game to run at a fixed 60 frames per second, taking the game from this something more like this. And as you can see, this is beautiful, very, very smooth, 60 frames per second in the field, on the world map, and more importantly, even in battles, a whopping increase in that 50 frame per second limit that was present in the original game. And today I'm going to show you how you can install the 60 frame per second mod yourself, and also how you can install some of these other mods that you can see here, including the character replacement models and spell animations, etc. So we're going to get into that. A big thank you to Tsunamods and the team over at the modding community for giving us these wonderful mods. They're doing a fantastic job as always. Now, these mods work best on the 1998 version of the game, but I'm guessing most of you don't have that, so I'm going to be working with the Steam version and showing you the extra necessary steps to get this working with the Steam version, so that we're all on the same page. I hope you enjoy the video. Now, I understand that modding can be a scary process, especially if you've never done it before. So my philosophy for this tutorial is to assume that you're coming to this with no knowledge or prior experience to modding FF7. Now, that may not be the case. You perhaps already have the 7th Heaven mod manager installed and have been using various other mods. That's fine. I will leave a set of chapters on the timeline for you guys to skip ahead if you feel that's going to be best for you so that you can save some time. But starting from scratch here, okay, I'm going to be using the Steam version of Final Fantasy VII, since that's what I expect most of you will be using as well. Now, I have Steam open. I do not have Final Fantasy VII yet installed. It doesn't matter if you do. That's not a problem. What I am going to do, though, first of all, this isn't required as far as I understand, but it is something I recommend, and that is to move your Steam library from the Program Files folder into a non-program files folder, for example, just straight on the C drive. And the reason for that is that Microsoft adds a load of security features to the program files folder, which can interfere with making changes that we need to make when we're modding the game. And then you can start getting errors, which can be hard to pinpoint what the reason is for those errors. So I say just get Steam out of the program files folder. It's a habit I recommend doing anyway. Okay, so to do that, all we need to do is close Steam down. And then, if we go to our Steam folder, again, it doesn't matter if Final Fantasy VII is installed because that will move automatically. We're going to cut our Steam folder out of the Program Files folder here. So to do that, I'll just right-click, select Cut. And then I'm going to stick it straight into the root directory of my C drive here. So the same folder that Windows and the program files themselves are located. And we'll just paste that, and depending on how many games you've got installed, it might take a little bit of time. Once your entire Steam directory has been moved, we're going to go ahead and open steam.exe. And because the folder location has now changed, it's going to just move some files around, create some new files, and it sometimes may ask you to log in once more. It hasn't done that for us, that's fine. But now, if I go ahead and select to install Final Fantasy VII, we can see that it will, in fact, install it in Steam. So it's bypassing the Program Files folder, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to go ahead now and install Final Fantasy VII as normal. And it's just going to download that and install the game. Shouldn't take too long. It's only 1.4 gigabytes. Okay, so Final Fantasy VII has been installed, and it works as normal, as you would expect. Now, if you already have a playthrough in action, and you want to back up your save files ready for when we've converted the game, so that it can be played with mods, all you need to do is find your save files at this location, which is Documents, Square Enix, Final Fantasy VII Steam, User, followed by a bunch of numbers. And in this folder, you will have some files, including save 00, save 01, whatever the save numbers are that you used in game. So those are the files that you'll want to make a backup of. I don't have any because this is a fresh install. Next up then, we are going to need the Seventh Heaven Mod Manager. Now, the latest version of the Mod Manager is 2.3.3. This may be not the latest version by the time you watch this video. That's fine. Whatever the latest version is, download that and use that, but it should at least be 2.3.3. The original author for Seventh Heaven Mod Manager stopped updating it, so it is now managed by the Tsunamods team themselves. So if you find the original website for Seventh Heaven Mod Manager, bear in mind that won't be the latest release and isn't going to help you for today's purposes. So I will put the actual link here in the video description. This is the link you want to download the Seventh Heaven Mod Manager from. And I'm going to be downloading 2.3.3. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, we'll run that. Okay, and now we need to effectively locate our directory of Final Fantasy VII, which, as you can see, the Mod Manager has done that already. And we can also install Seventh Heaven into its own location as well. Once more, I'm not going to recommend using... There we go. Recommend using the Steam Apps folder. Not sure why it's put an extra dash there. I don't think it matters too much, though. Okay, that's fine. And yes, we can create a desktop shortcut and start setup. Nice and fast. So we'll go ahead and open that. You will need administrative rights to do so because of the changes we're going to be making. And the first thing you need to do is make sure that all of your paths are correctly loaded, which they will be. Okay, if you followed my instructions so far, you can see everything's as it should be. And a couple of these will be created if they don't already exist. That's absolutely fine. But to keep things simple, I'm not changing any of these settings. Let's just go ahead and select save here. And we'll just make sure that the game does run. If you get an error, then that just means the driver didn't load correctly. Just restart Seventh Heaven and that shouldn't be an issue. Okay, the game looks like it's functioning. Just to clarify, this is now the 1998 version of Final Fantasy VII. Okay, remember I told you that that is the best version for mods? What we've basically done now is converted our Steam version of the game into the 1998 version. So if you are using the original 1998 disc version, we're all on the same page at this particular point. Now, the current mod driver that is installed automatically with Seventh Heaven is not updated to the point that it will work with the 60 frames per second mod by Tsunamods. So we need to update that manually. Now, the way we do that is, first of all, we'll close the Seventh Heaven Mod Manager. And we'll come to this website here. Again, all the links will be in the description. And we're looking for the FFNX, the latest version, basically. As you can see, the latest version is 1.101.105. And we just need to download this. So we'll head to the assets here. And you want to download the 1998 version. Remember that, okay, that's the version of the game we're using, not Steam now. So we'll go ahead and download that. And it's just a simple case of extracting this zip file that we've just downloaded. And all of these files we want to put into our Final Fantasy VII root directory. So I'm going to copy that. And then we're going to head to our Final Fantasy VII root directory, which is here. C, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Final Fantasy VII. And it's the folder with your FF7 exe. So in this directory, we're going to paste and then overwrite the current files that it wants to overwrite. So replace. And that will then have updated our driver so that we can install the mods that we want to install. And finally, just before we actually get to installing mods themselves, a couple of settings that you may want to look at if we head down to Game Driver here. First of all, the graphics API. If you're using an AMD graphics card, don't use the OpenGL setting. Personally, I think the DirectX 12 setting is the most stable for most graphics cards, so I'm going to select that. Resolution, set this to what you want. It doesn't really matter for me because I'm going to be using window mode anyway. I'm going to keep anti-aliasing switched off, and I'm also going to disable both of these for the time being, especially vertical sync, which could interfere with our 60 FPS mod. Now, the Steam version comes with various gameplay enhancements, as Steam calls it, the ability to skip battles, put turbo mode on, etc. Because we're not using the Steam version, we don't have access to those, but Seventh Heaven effectively re-implements them for us. So random battles, you can see with Control and B, we can turn those on and off. We've got skip movies, soft reset, speed hack stepping. This is your turbo mode, but there's a little bit more flexibility here with Seventh Heaven. So we can select how much we change the speed by every time we toggle it. So I'm going to change this to 1. And then we can select the maximum speed that we can increase it to. So I'm going to go to 4, which I believe is what it is in the Steam version of the game. It might be 3, but I'm going to keep it at 4. So it keeps those settings similar to how they are in the Steam version. And then advanced, I would advise leaving these if you have no music or sound effect mods. And if you have any issues, then try change them to VGM Stream. But for now, since I haven't got any audio mods installed, I'm going to leave them. And I'm just going to go ahead and select save there. And the game should work. Yep. And just make sure I've got those sound effects. Yes. Okay, that's fine then. So the game's ready now. We can start installing mods, which is exactly what we want to do. So let's install the 60 FPS mod itself. Again, I'll leave the link in the video description. That's going to be to the IRO file, which is the file type that mods are for Seventh Heaven. So we'll save that. It's a 90 megabyte file. There we go. Nicely, quickly downloaded. And we're going to pop this into the following location, which is our Final Fantasy VII installation root folder again, where the exe is. But this time, we're going to open the mods folder that Seventh Heaven would have created when we installed it. And then go into the Seventh Heaven folder. And this is where we're going to paste that file. This is where all your mods are going to be installed. So if you already have mods installed, they will be here where you will be able to see them as well. That's it, okay? The mod is installed. Now, it won't be there until we refresh. There it is, 60 FPS gameplay. It's currently in beta, but sorted. Technically, we are done at this point. We can play the game and enjoy those glorious 60 frames per second. And I hope you would agree that the setup for this, yeah, it's taken a few steps, but it's not really been overly complicated. Now, I don't think if we're going to go all this effort to install the 60 FPS mod, that we would want to leave things there. I need to be careful with my saves here, because these are from a new threat playthrough, which I don't currently have installed. So let's go for one that won't have a whole lot of new stuff set up on it. As you can see, we've got that lovely 60 FPS in action. Cloud running very smoothly there. And yes, battles themselves will also have been updated. Now, like I said, we're probably going to want to install a few more mods at this point, because we've gone to all the effort to get Seventh Heaven Mod Manager installed. Why settle for just an improved frame rate when we can get the game looking absolutely stunning? And also, do we really want to be putting up with the 1998 MIDI files? I would suggest probably not. But so far, so good. Very smooth indeed. Lovely. I'm sure you will agree on that. Before adding any other graphical mods, let's just sort out those horrendous MIDIs and what have you, because even back in 1998, they were considered to be bad. PC gamers were really shafted over the PlayStation version, which had a beautiful arranged soundtrack. So let's go ahead, first of all, and head back to our settings, game driver, advanced, and make sure that the music option is changed to VGM Stream. You don't need to download any music mods. I, in fact, haven't. And I'm going to also change the sound effects option to VGM Stream as well. Now, the mod I've downloaded, Cosmo Memory, is a sound effects mod. Now, it won't be for everybody, but I actually like it. You can get it by going to Browse Catalog, typing in Cosmo Memory. You'll see it there. Yeah, there it is. And then just double-click it to install it. It's about 2 gigabytes in size. And you can select the settings option on Cosmo Memory. And you can just go through what you want to enable or disable. For example, the menu sounds, you have a number of choices here. If you want to have some of the other sound effects changed, but want to keep the original FF7 menu sounds, then you can certainly select that. But for example, let's say I want the 7 remake sounds. We just select it there. We can have voiced attacks, which are pretty cool actually. It's pretty much just going to add various grunts and stuff as characters attack, but it's very traditional JRPG style, so don't worry about that. I think it's pretty awesome. Field ambience. This is nice. You might get like the sound of birds and stuff as you enter certain areas and what have you. Battle ambience, same thing. Movie sounds and footsteps, which is pretty cool as well. So let's just go ahead and see how that affects our gameplay here, or at least our game. So we'll just get back into a save file. So that's quite subtle. That's the Final Fantasy VII remake sound effect. Something like the Dissidia sound effect will be a little bit louder. Let me just turn that up a bit for you as well, since we're showcasing the sounds. Okay, that's the Steam music now, which I believe is the soundtrack from the PlayStation version of the game. Hear the birds? You can also hear the footsteps, which change and are determined based on the ground that your leader is running on. And let's just check out those battle sound effects. So yeah, Cosmo Memory is a fantastic little mod, it really is, and because it gives you so much control over those settings, if there's some aspects of it you don't like, then chances are you can change it to either take it back to the original, like with the menu sounds for example, or to go for a different style. So, you know, I think the Dissidia sounds are pretty good myself, so I'll keep those active there. The next set of mods I want to show you and that I want to use has to be the Nino style collection. These things are fantastic. They update the various character models across the different aspects of the game, and in many ways they retain the original art style, especially that chibi style, which I'm going to show you, which to me makes them some of the best model enhancing mods for Final Fantasy VII. So you can't download these, as far as I know, directly through 7th Heaven. We're going to install them manually, as we did with the 60 FPS mod. So I'll leave the link in the description as always, and we're going to download the 7th Heaven character mod pack and the 7th Heaven Chibi Field mod pack, or mod as well. The only thing about these files is they are a .rar format file, so I did need to download WinRAR. So let's go ahead and extract. And the same for the Chibi Field mod. And there we have our .iro files, so we can just go ahead and copy and paste those into our 7th Heaven mod folder location as before. There's my directory, as you can see. And we'll do the same for the Chibi Field models as well. And then it's just a case of refreshing our mod list here on 7th Heaven. And it might just take a little bit of time for them to load in. Now, it's very important that when you are using field models and other model replacements that have animations, that you have your 60 FPS gameplay mod situated above them. You see, mod order is important in 7th Heaven because this is the order that mods will be loaded. So you want to make sure that 60 FPS is pretty much at the top of everything, and then you shouldn't have any issues with that. And now, if you really want to get the game looking even more fancy, then there's a whole bunch of other stuff we can look at as well from the Tsunamods collection. If we head over to Browse Catalogue and start searching for SYW, you can see another bunch of mod options come up for us. Now, I'm going to recommend, some of these can be pretty big, by the way, okay, because a lot of textures are going to be replaced here. I'm going to start downloading the battle textures, so let's double click that. I'm going to download some field textures, so we'll double click that one to start downloading. I'm not going to download the FMV upgrades for the purposes of this video because they are some big files, but let me tell you, I've done it before on a previous playthrough and they are gorgeous. All of the pre-rendered cinematic cutscenes will be upgraded. They look stunning, they really do. All of the noise from the original FMVs and that has been removed and they've just been upscaled. They look beautiful. So, yeah, I would recommend doing those if you don't mind the extra space that they take up. Mini games, I won't do that for today because I'm not showing any mini games, but again, they do make a nice difference. Spell textures, let's go ahead and install those. Menu fonts, let's install those. And world textures, we'll queue all that up. As you can see, it's not the fastest set of downloads because some of these files are so big. Even at 55 megabytes per second download, it takes a bit of time to do this. Right, so all of my mods are installed. I've even installed the New Threat 2.0 mod, which is the gameplay mod I like to use. It's a fantastic gameplay mod, and it changes and rebalances a whole lot of aspects of the game, but it is completely optional, not needed for the purposes of this video. So if we go ahead and select play now, we'll get to see Final Fantasy VII, hopefully in all of its modded glory here. The more mods you have, the longer it does tend to take to load the game. But it's not too bad. And as you can see straight away from the get-go, the fonts and the text and all the menus have been beautifully upscaled. I haven't actually installed any menu mods, but so we're still using the original menu, but even that has been upscaled here, as you can see. And let's just go ahead and load a random save file here. So you can see that Cloud has his chibi model, which is absolutely stunning. That will apply to all of the party members as well. And as well as the party members, some NPCs have been updated also. You can see that the airship has been updated and the world map itself, the land, has been updated along with the graphics for the map. It just has a beautiful remastered look to it, in my opinion. You know, Square didn't want to do it, so the fans stepped up. They really did. So if we head into an actual field area, let's go into the Chocobo Ranch, since it's a small one. We can see our other party members also have their updated models, which look fantastic. So I've just loaded up another random save here. This is a Nibelheim save. So we'll head out and see what these battles look like. Yeah, this 60 frames per second mod makes such a huge difference. It really does. Oh, look at that smoothness. Oh no, it's frogs. I hate frogs. Let's start casting some random spells as well to see how these look on the enemies. Even the frog animations are smooth, aren't they? Oh, look at that spell animation. Yeah, remember, before battles were in 15 frames per second. So this makes a big difference. It really does. Makes a big difference. Yeah, even enemy animations look a lot better than they did with this mod. Yeah, perfect. You know, this is like the only way to play Final Fantasy VII for me now. My last playthrough was with a whole load of these mods installed. New Threat, along with all of the chibi field model updates and the graphical enhancements. And it's just difficult to go back once you've got used to it. It really is. So, you know, Tsunamods and the team, they've done such a fantastic job. So, seriously, all credit to them. But I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And if you have, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Final Fantasy content going forward. I've got a bunch of it out there for you already. But I hope you have a wonderful day, guys. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.